VWO is a popular choice when it comes to A/B testing. In this video, we're going to show you how to integrate VWO on your Shopify site, how to set up a test, and how to interpret results. We'll also show you Shogun's A/B testing tool so you can get a sense of the lightweight alternative that we provide for Shopify merchants just like you. Let's jump into the video.
VWO has an app available in the Shopify App Store. This will take you straight to the Shopify admin. Now let's click on the Install button here to move forward. Click on one of the Shopify editor links. This will take you to Shopify's built-in theme editor, and it also conveniently opens up the app embed settings for VWO in the left sidebar of the editor. Plug in your VWO account ID into this field. To find this ID, go to your VWO account. Then you'll need to click on the gear icon in the top right corner of your screen. Your ID is listed near the top of this account settings page. You can select and copy it here. Let's now go back to the app embed settings in Shopify. Make sure that the VWO Smart Code option is toggled on. Then let's return to the installation settings for the VWO app. Open up the Configure Account dropdown and click on the Enable Tracking button. You'll need to enter your account ID again, then select Activate Tracking. And finally, click on this Activate button to confirm that you want to enable tracking. The next step is to leave the Shopify admin and create your A/B test directly in VWO. Go to the left sidebar of the VWO dashboard and select the A/B option here. Then, click on the Create button in the top right corner of the page. This will take you to the settings page for your new test, where you'll need to plug in the URL of the page you want to experiment with. Let's go back to the Shopify admin. For this example, we want to experiment with one of our product pages. So let's use the search bar up top to navigate to the page that we want to test. Then we'll go ahead and hit the View button to go to the live version of the page and grab the URL from our address bar. Once we have that URL copied, we can simply plug it right into the corresponding field on VWO. Next, go to the Configuration tab and select the Variations option. This is where you can add a new variation for your test. And to customize the variation, you can either use VWO's Visual Editor or Code Editor. We'll use the Code Editor. Let's hit the Launch Editor button next to our variation, then address the window that pops up by saving our changes. You'll find that VWO's Code Editor allows you to add JavaScript, CSS, and HTML to your variation. To demonstrate, let's add some CSS code that will change the color of the Add to Cart button on this page. A lot of stores use an eye-catching color on important elements like this to catch the visitor's attention and encourage them to click. This code will change the background color of the button to a bright red, which should really make it pop. Let's save and close the editor. Now we can move on to setting up the metrics for our test. This is also found in the Configuration tab of our test settings. You must add one primary metric. Let's click on Create New Metric to see what our options are. There are several different types of events that you can track in VWO, including whether the visitor clicks on certain elements, whether they submit a certain form, how long they stay on the page, and whether they express frustration with their clicks. Also, in addition to your primary metric, you can add secondary metrics if there are other things you'd like to track. In the audience and traffic settings, you have the option of targeting your test to specific groups of visitors based on conditions such as what website the visitor is coming from, what type of device they're using, and whether they're a new or returning visitor. Now let's go ahead and click on the Start Test button here. Before your test actually starts, VWO will prompt you to review it before moving forward. That's always a good idea, but for this example, we'll just keep going. This takes us to the report for our test, which provides up-to-date performance data for both the original version of the page and the new variant. We'll now review what a completed test looks like in order to give you a better idea of how to interpret the results. Let's go back to the campaigns list. Scroll all the way down to the bottom, and then select the sample report that VWO provides. The first thing you'll see on this report is that VWO has clearly declared a winner of the test for us. But how does VWO determine which version of the page wins? Let's go over each of the columns in this report to clarify. The Unique Conversions/Visitors column shows you the raw numbers of how many people hit your metric, as well as the total number of people who have visited the page. The next column then expresses this information as a percentage. Now, the expected improvement column is where it gets a little more complicated. VWO crunches the numbers in order to show you how well you can expect your variation to perform compared to the baseline. But the decision probabilities column makes it all easy to understand. This gives you the odds that your variation is better or worse than the original version of the page. A score of 95% or better in the right direction indicates that you should start sending all traffic over to the variation. Okay, now let's go back to the new A/B test that we created. If you've determined that your variation has indeed won the test, you can then make it the only version of the page that's published through the report section of the test settings. Open the drop-down menu that's located next to your variation. You can find this menu on the far right side of the page. It has an icon of 3 vertical dots. Then select Rollout Variation, which is the second option from the bottom of this menu. The next thing you'll see is a pop-up. You can continue by clicking on the Create Campaign and Proceed button. After that, this pop-up window will then load an explanation of what happens when you start your rollout campaign. Select Start Campaign Now to move on. Now that your rollout campaign has begun, you'll see that your A/B test will automatically be paused in order to avoid any conflict. To access your rollout campaign, move your cursor over to the left sidebar of VWO and click on the Web Rollout option. It's right between Personalize and Data 360. We'll then go ahead and click on the campaign we just rolled out here. Once this loads, you'll see that we've been taken to the rollout stats report for the campaign, where we can see how many people have visited the page since we rolled out the variation. It's also worth noting that VWO gives you the option to pause the campaign whenever you want, so you always have the ability to change your mind and revert back to the original version of the page should you ever feel the need to do so. You can also use Shogun to run A/B tests for your Shopify store. To demonstrate, let's go back to Shopify. Once you've installed Shogun A/B testing, you can then access it by clicking on the Apps option in the left sidebar of the main Shopify control panel. Every feature of this A/B testing solution is available from within the Shopify admin. This is one of the main advantages of using Shogun rather than something like VWO. There's no need to jump over to another platform to run your A/B tests. Select Create Test to start setting up a new experiment. You can test changes to a single page, a page template, or your entire theme. For this example, let's do a page test. In the original section of these settings, click on the Choose a Page button to select the page that you want to test. Everything is neatly organized by page type here, so it's easy to find what you're looking for, and once you locate the page you want, just click on it and select Done. If you didn't add your own custom text into the Name Your Test field, you'll see that it will automatically change according to the name of the page that you've chosen to experiment with. Let's then click on the Copy Original button in the Variant section of the settings here. This will create a duplicate of the page, and you can then use this to make any of the changes to the design or functionality that you want to try out as part of your A/B test. Once this copy is ready, click on the Edit in Shopify button. This option is located in the bottom right corner of the Variant section. You'll then be directed to Shopify's built-in theme editor. Most Shopify merchants are already familiar with this theme editor tool. That means, unlike with other A/B testing solutions, there's no learning curve involved with designing the page variants for your test. The left sidebar of the editor allows you to review and move around the different elements on the page, and you can edit the content of individual elements as well. For this example, let's imagine that you want to try out some new language on your homepage to see if it will help you make more conversions. Once we're done with our variant design, we'll hit the Save button in the top right corner of the page. All right, let's now go back to the settings page for our new test. You'll find that Shogun gives you several options for customizing your A/B test. But before we go over that, let's refresh this page, just so you can see that the design of the new variant is reflected here in the settings. Okay, see, now let's move on to the customization options. Shogun allows you to determine how much traffic goes to the original version of the page and how much goes to the new variant. And you have a few options here for the goal of your test as well. You'll be able to review all of these metrics in your test results, even the ones you didn't set as your main goal. The last thing we'll go over for setting up your test is the audience option. This allows you to target your test to particular groups of people who are visiting the page. You can set multiple conditions for the same audience segment, and the different types of conditions you can set include the visitor's physical location, what kind of device they're using, whether they're a logged-in customer, and more. Wherever you're done creating your segment, all you need to do is hit save, but we'll just cancel this for our example. Now that we're done with the settings, let's scroll down to the bottom of the page and select Review Test. Okay, let's clean this name up a bit. Once we click on the Start Test button in the bottom right corner of this pop-up, your new variant of the page will be published for the audience you're targeting, if there is one, and the percentage of traffic that you determined earlier. Again, it's always a good idea to review the setup of your test before you publish it. If there are any errors in the design of your variant, like an obvious typo in a prominent heading or an image that doesn't load properly, then there would be no way to know if a dip in performance is due to these mistakes you made or what you were truly trying to test. But for this example, we'll just keep moving forward. Now that the test is published, you'll be able to see how the original version of the page and your new variant are performing in terms of whatever metric you're tracking. Whenever you're ready to conclude your test, just click on the End Test button here. In the pop-up window, you can then select whichever version of the page performed better. Even if you don't choose your new variant, it will still be saved in case you want to try it out later. Then just click on the End Test button to make your chosen version the only one that still receives traffic. Overall, Shogun makes it much easier to run an A/B test than most of the other solutions out there.
All right, everybody. Hope you learned something today about how to A/B test on your Shopify site using VWO and Shogun. Leave me a comment down below. What are you excited to test first? Which tool are you excited to use? I want to hear from you. Also, I'm going to leave some links in the description. I'll link to the Shogun A/B testing tool so you can get a chance to check that out and play around with it. Also going to link to A/B testing guide in the description so you can learn a little bit more about some ideas and different things you can do to actually implement tests on your store, regardless of whatever tool you use. Check that out. I think you're going to like the ideas that we've got in there, and hopefully you find some useful ones for your store. And as always, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can want to hear about all the great content that we're coming out with to help Shopify store owners. All right. Until next time, happy selling.